I was kidnapped, and the kidnappers forced my billionaire husband to choose between me and his first love. Everyone thought he would choose his first love, and even I was prepared to be killed. But he didn't hesitate. I choose my wife. I was moved to tears, but then I heard his lowered voice on the other end of the phone, hurry up and kill her. I bought her a 3 billion yuan accident insurance policy. The beneficiary is me. I wiped away my tears and said to the kidnapper, brother, don't kill me, kill him. If he dies, the insurance payout will be even more, and we can split it 50-50. What did you say? The kidnapper boss's hand holding the phone stiffened, suspecting he had heard wrong. I calmly repeated, I said, don't touch me, go after my husband Charles. If he dies, the insurance company's death compensation, plus the assets under his name, will far exceed 3 billion. Once we get it, you and I split it 50-50. The kidnapper boss, that is, Leo, looked at me with the eyes of someone staring at a madwoman. He had probably been in the business for many years and had never seen a hostage actively negotiate cooperation with him, let alone plan to eliminate the payer. I was tied to a cold iron chair, the ropes around my wrists cutting painfully. The phone was still connected, and Charles on the other end seemed to think the signal was bad, still urging, hello? Did you hear me? Do it. Don't you want the money? The impatience in his voice was like a poisoned dagger stabbing into my heart. 3 years of marriage turned out to be a meticulously planned murder. I had thought that Charles didn't love me, but at least there was some marital affection. After all, in the eyes of outsiders, I was his lawfully wedded wife. He would give me the highest supplementary card limit, book the entire restaurant on anniversaries, and defend my image in front of the media. I thought this was the norm for elite marriages, no love, but dignity. Until today, when the kidnapper's call came, giving him a choice. His first love, Vivian, had somehow been kidnapped as well. When he shouted that he chose his wife, I admit, my long-dormant heart pounded fiercely. But the immediate follow-up of hurry up and kill her plunged me into hell instantly. So, he chose me, to die. Leo finally reacted. He didn't hang up but switched to speakerphone and sneered into the phone, Charles, your wife says she wants to talk to you. Charles on the other end was clearly stunned. After a few seconds of dead silence, he put on his disguised affectionate mask again, Reina? Don't be afraid, I'm figuring out a way to save you. You must not listen to the kidnapper's provocations. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, my smile icy. Charles, the 3 billion accident insurance you bought for me has you as the beneficiary. What about the one you bought for yourself? Charles's breath hitched. I remember, the life insurance you bought for yourself has me as the beneficiary. The coverage seems to be 10 billion? I said this number nonchalantly. This was on our first wedding anniversary. To show his love for me, he signed the policy in front of all our friends. Everyone envied me for marrying for love back then, but now I realize his gaze on me was like looking at a piggy bank about to be cashed in. On the other end, Charles fell completely silent. He knew I had figured it all out. Leo's eyes lit up, his gaze toward me shifted from seeing a lunatic to seeing a shining partner. 10 billion, he murmured, his Adam's apple bobbing. Brother, I looked at him with a sincere tone, with 3 billion, you can only get the ransom and risk getting caught. But 10 billion is legitimate insurance compensation. As soon as Charles dies, the money will go directly to my account. Then, I'll give you 5 billion, and you'll live worry-free for the rest of your life. Leo's breathing grew heavy. I continued to up the ante, moreover, you don't have to do it yourself. We just need to orchestrate an accident. For someone like Charles, with enemies everywhere, making him die accidentally is too easy. Leo finally hung up the phone, walked up to me, squatted down, and untied the ropes on my wrists. The moment the ropes loosened, a sharp pain shot through my wrists, but I didn't care at all. How do you want to do it? Leo asked, his eyes full of scrutiny and inquiry. I knew we had preliminarily formed an alliance. First, I need to die once. I rubbed my numb wrists and said calmly. Leo was a smart man, he immediately understood what I meant. Only if I died would Charles completely let his guard down. "How do you want to die?" he asked. "A car accident, falling off a cliff, car destroyed and body gone, not finding the body is best." I calmly planned my own death scenario. Leo gave me a deep look, didn't ask more, and just said one word, "Okay." He had two subordinates, one named Derek, the other Max. Derek was tall and burly, but not very bright. Max was thin and capable, looking very clever. When Leo explained the plan to them, Derek was stunned on the spot. "Leo bro, isn't this equivalent to working for nothing? We haven't gotten a penny." Max's eyes darted, he leaned over and whispered, "Leo bro, is this woman reliable? Don't let her use us to get rid of her husband and then sell us out." Leo didn't speak, just looked at me. I smiled, took off a necklace from my neck, and handed it to him. "This is the wedding anniversary gift Charles gave me, called Heart of the Ocean, appraised at 80 million by the auction house. Now, it's yours, as our cooperation deposit." Leo weighed the huge blue sapphire, and the last trace of doubt in his eyes disappeared. He knew I wasn't joking. We were really going to pull off a big one. The plan proceeded smoothly. Leo and his team found a car of the same model and color as mine, forged the license plate. Then, on a stormy night, they pushed the car off the most treacherous cliff on the suburban winding mountain road. Below the cliff was a turbulent river. After the car fell, it was quickly swept away, disappearing without a trace. The next day, the news of billionaire wife Reina suspected of being kidnapped and killed, falling off a cliff with her car, made the front-page headlines of all media. Charles performed an Oscar-worthy tragic play in front of the cameras. His eyes were red, his face haggard, choking back sobs under countless flashes. "It's all my fault. If I had gathered the ransom sooner, Reina wouldn't have." Beside him, Vivian, dressed in a plain white skirt, gently supported him, her eyes brimming with tears, like a delicate white lotus unable to withstand the storm. I hid in the safe house arranged by Leo, watching the pair on TV who could be called model villains in the scoundrel world, feeling no ripples in my heart, only coldness. Leo handed me a bowl of instant noodles. "Eat something." "Thanks." I took it and ate heartily. Now was not the time for sadness, revenge had just begun. The police mobilized a large amount of manpower and resources to search downstream, but after a few days, they only found some car wreckage. As for me, no body was found, alive or dead. 7 days later, according to legal procedures, I was declared missing. Charles immediately submitted my death claim to the insurance company. He was too hasty, as if afraid that if he delayed a second, I would crawl out of the grave. The insurance company's claims adjuster came soon. The person was Jenna, a woman around 30, dressed in a sharp professional suit, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, looking shrewd and sharp. She asked Charles about the details of the kidnapping. Charles repeated his well-prepared script, watertight. Jenna listened while taking notes, her face expressionless. After the questions, she stood up and casually asked, "Charles, I heard you and your wife had a very good relationship?" Charles nodded immediately, his eyes reddening again. "Reina is the woman I love most in my life." "Is that so?" Jenna pushed her glasses, "But we found that half a month before Mrs. Reina's incident, you changed the beneficiary of your personal 10 billion life insurance from Mrs. Reina to your mother. May I ask why?" Charles's face changed instantly. On the TV screen, Charles's expression stiffened for a moment, then returned to grief. "That's because my mother has been unwell lately, and I wanted to leave her more security. My relationship with Reina doesn't need these to prove it." His explanation was somewhat forced. Jenna smiled noncommittally and dropped another bombshell. "We also found that on the day of Mrs. Reina's incident, Miss Vivian, who was kidnapped with her, was safely released less than 3 hours after the incident. But the kidnappers only killed Mrs. Reina." "Charles, don't you find this strange?" Fine beads of sweat appeared on Charles's forehead. I don't know. The kidnappers are insane, how would I know what they're thinking?" "Charles, don't be nervous." Jenna's tone remained calm, "We're just doing routine inquiries. However, this 3 billion compensation is huge, and until the police officially declare Mrs. Reina dead, we cannot pay it temporarily. The company will send a special investigation team to follow up, hoping for your cooperation." With that, she left with her assistant. Charles slumped onto the sofa, his face so gloomy it could drip water. Vivian quickly squatted down, held his hand, and softly comforted, "Charles, don't worry, it's just normal procedure. That woman is already dead, no one can find out anything." "You don't understand." Charles irritably shook off her hand. "This Jenna is their company's ace investigator, nicknamed the Fox. No case she handles can be muddled through. She must be suspicious." Hiding in the safe house, I also frowned. This Jenna was indeed a trouble. I didn't expect Charles to have such a move before acting, changing his policy beneficiary. He was cautious to the bone. "What now?" Leo asked me. "If we can't get the insurance money and Charles is alert, can our plan continue?" "Yes." I put down the instant noodle bowl, my gaze firm. "If he can't get the money, Charles will be more anxious than us. He'll do everything to urge the police to close the case, proving I'm thoroughly dead. And we will strike the fatal blow when he's most triumphant." In the following days, Charles indeed began pressuring the police frequently. He used his connections and money, urging the police to announce my death soon while continuing to play the affectionate husband in the media to gain public sympathy. Online, public opinion almost unanimously supported him. "Charles is so pitiful, his wife just passed, and he's still being hassled by the insurance company. Yeah, the person is gone, and they won't pay, what a trash company. Heartaches for Charles, hope he gets out of the shadow soon." Vivian, as the deceased wife's best friend, often accompanied Charles, the two appearing together like a pair of star-crossed lovers. Under strong public pressure, both the police and the insurance company were somewhat overwhelmed. A month later, when I had been missing for 30 days, the police finally held a press conference announcing my death. On the day the news came, Charles, accompanied by Vivian, held an extremely grand memorial service for me. Almost all the business elites attended. Charles stood in front of my black and white portrait, reading the eulogy he wrote himself, tears streaming down, sincere and emotional. "Reina, rest assured, I'll take good care of our home, I'll spend the rest of my life missing you." Below the stage, Vivian cried like a pear blossom in the rain, evoking pity. Through Max's micro-drone, I coldly watched this absurd performance. Leo whispered beside me, "Message from the insurance company, the claim will be paid tomorrow." I nodded, "Tell Max to prepare to act." After the memorial, Charles brought Vivian back to our marital villa. Probably thinking I was thoroughly dead, they didn't even bother acting anymore. As soon as they entered, Charles yanked off his tie, pinned Vivian hard against the entrance wall, and kissed her wildly. "Baby, you've been wronged. Once we get the money, we'll go abroad to marry, and no one will disturb us anymore." "Charles, I love you so much." Vivian panted in response, "For you, I'm willing to do anything. Just..." "Reina, she really won't come back, right? How can a dead person come back?" Charles sneered, "Even if she becomes a ghost, I'll make her die again." In front of the surveillance screen, I clenched my fists. "Good, very good. Charles, Vivian, your doomsday has arrived." Late at night, the villa was silent. Charles and Vivian were probably exhausted from celebrating and had long fallen asleep in each other's arms. Max used his superb lock-picking skills to open the villa door silently. Leo, Derek, and I sneaked in like ghosts in the night. Our target was not Charles, but the safe in his study. Based on my observations over the past 3 years, Charles had many shady contracts and files locked in there. There must be something inside that could ruin him forever. The safe in the study was German-made, with password and fingerprint dual verification. But this didn't stump me. On our wedding anniversary, Charles had boastfully let me enter my fingerprint, calling it husband and wife as one, sharing property. As for the password, it was his and Vivian's dating anniversary. Ironic, isn't it? He used his first love's password to lock surprises for me, his wife. I skillfully entered the password and pressed my fingerprint. With a click, the safe opened. Inside, there wasn't much cash, but it was piled with various files and several hard drives. I didn't have time to look closely and directly said to Leo, "Take everything." Derek took out a large travel bag prepared in advance and swept everything inside. Just as we were preparing to leave, a scream suddenly came from upstairs. It was Vivian. "Oh no, we've been discovered." Leo's face changed. Immediately after, Charles's furious roar came from upstairs. "Who's downstairs?" Footsteps quickly approached the staircase. "Go." Leo decided decisively, leading Derek and Max to retreat the way we came. But I stood still, unmoving. "What are you doing?" "Hurry up." Leo got anxious and turned back to pull me. I shook my head, pushed away his hand, and instead walked toward the staircase. In Charles and Vivian's terrified and stunned gazes, I slowly raised my head and gave them a sinister smile. "Husband, I'm back." "Surprised? Unexpected?" Charles's face instantly turned pale, bloodless. He pointed at me, lips trembling, unable to say a word, as if he had really seen a ghost. Vivian was even more dramatic. She screamed, her eyes rolled back, and she fainted directly. "Ghost?" Charles finally regained a bit of voice from extreme fear. He scrambled back, trying to escape. I walked up the stairs step by step, approaching him. "Why run? Didn't you say that even if I become a ghost, you'd make me die again? Come, I'll give you that chance." I took out a fruit knife from behind. I had just grabbed it from the kitchen. The cold blade reflected a terrifying chill in the dim light. Charles was scared out of his wits. He looked at me, eyes full of fear and disbelief. You're not dead? Thanks to you, I have a strong life." I walked up to him, lightly patted his face with the knife tip. $3 billion to buy my life. Charles, you've lost big on this deal." Charles shook all over like a sieve. At that moment, piercing sirens suddenly sounded outside the villa. From far to near, instantly surrounding the entire villa. Charles, as if grasping a lifesaver, shouted desperately toward the window, "Help! Murder! Help!" The smile on my lips deepened. "Charles, do you think the police are here to save you?" "No, they're here to arrest you." The glaring red and blue police lights shone through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the villa in chaos. Charles was still screaming for help at the top of his lungs, as if I were some vicious criminal. I watched him leisurely, even taking the time to tidy my slightly messy hair. Soon, the villa door was forced open, and a group of armed police rushed in. Leading them was Officer Zach, whom I had seen on TV that day. "Freeze! Police!" Officer Zach was stunned by the scene inside, especially when he saw my resurrected face, a flash of shock in his eyes. Charles, as if seeing a savior, scrambled over. "Police! Save me! This crazy woman wants to kill me. She's Raina. She's not dead." Officer Zach's gaze swept back and forth between the fruit knife in my hand and Charles's pale face, brows furrowed. "Miss Raina, please put down the knife first." His tone was still restrained. I cooperatively let go, the fruit knife clanging onto the carpet without much noise. "Police, you've come at the right time." I spread my hands innocently. "I just got home and saw my husband and this woman." I pointed to Vivian unconscious on the ground. I got emotional and argued with him. I didn't expect such a big reaction, even calling the police. My acting surpassed Charles's performance at the memorial. The police on site looked at each other. This looked more like a melodramatic family drama. "Nonsense!" Charles rebutted furiously. "You clearly fell off the cliff and died. Everyone knows. How did you come back? And you sneaked into my study at midnight and stole my things. Do I need to sneak into my own home?" I sneered. "As for the study, I just wanted to find a document. Who knew you'd react so strongly, as if there was some huge secret hidden inside." I looked at Officer Zach, my gaze frank. "Officer, he accuses me of stealing. You can search me." Of course, the police wouldn't really search, but my composure contrasted sharply with Charles's agitation. Officer Zach's gaze became increasingly profound. Mr. Charles, Miss Reyna, since this is a misunderstanding, then we. Before he finished, a clear, cold female voice came from the door. Officer Zach, I'm afraid it's not a misunderstanding. Everyone turned to see insurance investigator Jenna entering with 2 assistants. She walked straight to me, pushed her glasses, and scrutinized me sharply. Miss Reyna, long time no see. My heart tightened. Why is she here? Jenna didn't give me time to think. She turned to Officer Zach and handed him a folder. Officer Zach, we have reason to suspect that Miss Reyna's cliff fall was a meticulously planned insurance fraud. And Miss Reyna herself is one of the masterminds. My heart sank suddenly. Charles was first stunned, then ecstatic. He pointed at me and shouted, yes. It's her. She conspired with the kidnappers to commit insurance fraud. Comrade police, arrest her quickly. 93 The situation turned abruptly. From a victim, I instantly became a suspect. Jenna's gaze was like an X-ray, seeming to see through me inside out. Miss Reyna, the day after your death, we monitored all accounts with financial transactions with your husband Charles. Just an hour ago, we found an offshore account receiving a transfer of up to 50 million. And the actual holder of this account. She paused, then said word by word, is a man named Leo. According to our investigation, he has multiple criminal records, highly matching the characteristics of your kidnapping case. Miss Reyna, now, can you explain why you transferred the condolence money just received at the memorial to your kidnapper? Jenna's words exploded like thunder in the living room. All eyes focused on me, shocked, suspicious, and gloating. Charles's face showed unmasked ecstasy. He looked at me as if seeing a prisoner about to be sent to the judgment seat. So it's you. Reyna. What a vicious heart. Actually conspiring with outsiders to harm me. He accused indignantly, as if he were the innocent victim. I ignored his clamor and calmly looked at Jenna. This woman was trickier than I imagined. She not only found Leo but even knew the details of my transfer clearly. That money was me asking Leo to contact the guests at the memorial, convert the condolence money to cash, and transfer it to him. Firstly, as funds for the operation, secondly, to disgust Charles. Using the money from the memorial he held to deal with him, nothing more ironic. But I didn't expect Jenna to act so quickly. I don't understand what you're saying. I remained composed. I just experienced kidnapping, escaped death, and my mind is still dazed. Whatever Leo or transfer you're talking about, I know nothing. Starting to play dumb was the only choice right now. Miss Reyna, the evidence is conclusive, denial is useless. Jenna's voice remained cold. We've applied to the police to interrogate you and Mr. Charles separately. She looked at Officer Zach. Officer Zach, no problem, right? Officer Zach nodded. Take them away. 2 female officers came forward, flanking me on both sides and holding my arms. I didn't resist. As I passed Charles, he lowered his voice to a volume only we could hear and said viciously, Reyna, you can't beat me. Wait to rot in prison. I glanced at him without speaking. Charles, the still unconscious Vivian, and I were put into different police cars. The sirens wailed, piercing the quiet of the luxury residential area. The interrogation room's lights were stark white and glaring. Officer Zach and another police officer sat opposite me, the atmosphere serious. Reyna, we'll give you one more chance. Confess the entire process of your conspiracy with Leo to commit insurance fraud. Officer Zach's voice carried undeniable authority. I said, I don't know any Leo. I repeated the same words, my gaze without any evasion. Stubborn? Officer Zach sneered and slammed a stack of photos on the table. The photos showed high-definition headshots and profiles of Leo, Derek, and Max Leo, 35, orphan, imprisoned for 5 years for robbery. Derek, 28, Max, 26, both his cellmates. Reyna, are you going to keep playing dumb? My heartbeat skipped a beat. The police's capabilities far exceeded my imagination. They not only found Leo but dug up his accomplices too. I fell silent. I knew any defense would seem weak in front of this evidence. Seeing I wasn't speaking, Officer Zach continued to pressure, Reina, insurance fraud is a serious crime. But if you confess voluntarily and testify against your accomplices, we can apply for a reduced sentence for you. If I'm not wrong, those files you stole are now with Leo and them, right? As soon as we find them, with people and loot captured, you'll have no chance to turn things around. He was right. The current situation was extremely unfavorable to me. Charles had extricated himself cleanly, while I was linked to the kidnappers. Once Leo and them are caught and the files I stole are found, I'll be unable to clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River. I must find a way to turn the tables before they find Leo. I raised my head, looked at Officer Zach, and slowly said, "Okay, I'll confess." Officer Zach and the other officer exchanged glances, showing an as expected expression. "But I have one condition," I said. "You have no right to negotiate now." "No, I do." I met his gaze and said word by word, "I want to see Jenna, talk to her alone. Otherwise, you won't know anything." Officer Zach obviously didn't expect this request. He frowned, seeming to weigh the pros and cons. After a while, he stood up and left the interrogation room. About 10 minutes later, the interrogation room door was pushed open again. It was Jenna who entered. She dismissed the other police and sat opposite me alone. "Speak, what do you want to talk to me about?" She got straight to the point. "A business deal." I looked at her, expression serious. Jenna raised an eyebrow, seeming amused. "Miss Reina, haven't you figured out your situation? You're a suspect now, not at a negotiation table." "Miss Jenna, don't rush to convict me." I leaned back in the chair, trying to look relaxed. "You say I committed fraud, where's the evidence? Just based on a 50 million transfer? I can fully explain this money as a thank you fee to the kidnapper for not really killing me. As for why I'm not dead, I can say I was lucky, jumped out of the car, then rescued by a kind passerby, and recovered after half a month of nursing injuries. You can't find evidence to refute these." Jenna's face darkened. She knew what I said was true. Without finding Leo or direct evidence of my planning the fraud, they really couldn't do anything to me. "What exactly do you want to say?" "What I want to say is, you've caught the wrong person." I leaned forward, lowered my voice. "The one who really planned all this to defraud the 3 billion insurance is not me, it's Charles." Jenna looked at me, eyes full of scrutiny, without immediate response. I continued, "Do you think why Charles changed the beneficiary of his 10 billion policy to his mother? Because he's afraid. Afraid that after my death, the police would suspect him, follow the trail to this policy, confirming his motive for killing his wife to defraud insurance. Changing the beneficiary was to clear his suspicion. He thought this made him foolproof. As for Vivian," I sneered, "she's not some innocent little white flower. She and Charles were in it together from start to finish. Why was she released unharmed less than 3 hours after the kidnapping? Because it was all a play directed and acted by her and Charles. The purpose was to make my death seem reasonable." Jenna's brows furrowed tighter. My words had huge information, perfectly explaining all her previous doubts. "Do you have evidence for these?" she asked. "Yes." I answered without hesitation. "The evidence is in those files and hard drives I took from Charles's study." "Where are the things?" "In an absolutely safe place." I looked at her and threw out my condition. "Miss Jenna, I know you're smart. If this case closes as my fraud, you get a normal bonus at most. But if you help me take down Charles, prove he's the mastermind behind killing his wife for insurance, you'll save 3 billion in losses. This merit is enough for you to rise 3 levels in the company, right? Moreover, Charles's files have more than just fraud. The dirty deeds he's done over the years are enough to keep him in prison for life. Then, the entire Jiang Group will see stock prices plummet due to the leader's imprisonment, even bankrupt. Your insurance company, as a major client of Jiang's, if you get advance notice, prepare risk avoidance, or even short sell. How much you can earn, I don't need to say." Jenna's breathing obviously quickened. I successfully piqued her interest. She was an ambitious woman, what I offered was a temptation she couldn't refuse. "Why should I believe you?" she asked, voice somewhat hoarse. "Based on this." I took out a micro USB drive from my pocket, placed it on the table, and pushed it to her. Inside is part of Charles and Vivian's call recordings, including their celebration at home after the memorial of my death. Enough to prove they are the ones in cahoots. This USB was prepared long ago. Before infiltrating the villa, I had Max install bugs in Charles and Vivian's cars and bedroom. I anticipated Charles would bite back, so I left a backup. Jenna picked up the USB and gave me a deep look. "I need to verify." "Of course." I smiled. "After verification, I hope you can help me with one thing." "What?" "Let me out. And provide me with an absolutely safe identity and location. I need time to organize those evidences." Jenna was silent. This was a risky decision. But high risk means high reward. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, I agree. But you'd better not play tricks, or bear the consequences." "Pleasure cooperating." I extended my hand. Jenna hesitated, but finally shook it. With the two hands clasped, a revenge alliance involving tens of billions in assets was officially formed. With Jenna's maneuvering, I was soon released without charges. The reason was insufficient evidence, and considering I had just experienced kidnapping, my mental state was unstable, needing to go home and rest. Charles was furious at this result. He caused a scene at the police station, accusing the police of inaction and sheltering criminals. But no matter how he raged, it couldn't change the outcome. He could only watch helplessly as I, escorted by Jenna, swaggered out of the police station. Getting into Jenna's car, I truly breathed a sigh of relief. "Thanks." "No need to thank me, we're partners." Jenna looked ahead, tone flat. I listened to the USB content, very exciting. Charles and Vivian indeed deserve to die. "What do you plan next?" "Where are the files?" "The files are with Leo, very safe." I said, "I now need a place where I can safely organize the contents." Jenna nodded and drove me to an apartment in the suburbs. The apartment wasn't large, but the security system was tight. Most importantly, it was very hidden. "This is one of my private properties, stay here temporarily. Contact me anytime if you need anything." Jenna handed me a key and a new phone. "Is the police still hunting Leo and them?" I asked. "Yes. But don't worry, I used some means to divert their investigation abroad. They won't find Leo in the short term." I looked at Jenna and sincerely said, "You're even more capable than I imagined." Jenna smiled, her eyes behind the lenses gleaming. "Same to you. Turning the tables from such desperation, you're no simple character either." After seeing Jenna off, I immediately contacted Leo. After confirming they were safe, I had him send all files and hard drives to this apartment. In the following days, I locked myself in the room, not stepping out. I categorized the files, copied all the hard drive contents, and reviewed them one by one. You don't know until you look, one look and you're shocked. Charles's crimes were far more numerous and severe than I expected. Illegal fundraising, stock manipulation, commercial bribery, tax evasion, each enough to keep him in prison for life. In one of the most inconspicuous folders, I discovered a secret that chilled me to the bone. It was an equity transfer agreement from 10 years ago. The agreement's content was Charles acquiring a small company on the verge of bankruptcy at an extremely low price. And the legal representative of that company was none other than my father's name. My father, 10 years ago, due to company bankruptcy, investment failure, burdened with huge debts, ultimately couldn't bear it and jumped to his death. I always thought it was a normal business failure. But now, it seems not at all. With trembling hands, I continued flipping. In an encrypted corner of the hard drive, I found some blurry videos and fragmented email records. By piecing together this information, I finally restored the truth of that year. Back then, my father's company developed a new technology with broad prospects. When Charles learned of it, he wanted to acquire it. But my father refused. So, Charles, together with Vivian, who was then an intern at his company, set a trap. They first bribed core technical staff at my father's company to steal the technical data. Then, using Vivian's beauty, they approached and bribed the bank manager responsible for loans to my father's company, withdrawing all liquidity, causing the capital chain to break. Finally, they forged a bunch of debt contracts, creating the illusion of my father's company on the brink of bankruptcy, and appeared as saviors, acquiring the company at a bargain price. That technology, which should have belonged to my father, became Charles's first pot of gold, turning him from an unknown small boss into the later richest man in Jiangzhou. While my father ended his life in despair and unwillingness. So that's it. So, Charles marrying me was not accidental from the beginning. He was afraid that one day I'd uncover the truth. So he kept me by his side, using money and so-called love to numb and monitor me. And when he felt I was becoming disobedient or he was tired of the game, he unhesitatingly chose to eliminate me. The $3 billion insurance was just an extra bonus he grabbed. The real purpose was to eliminate future troubles forever. I covered my mouth, not letting myself cry out, but tears rolled down like broken beads. I hate Charles's viciousness, hate Vivian's shamelessness, and hate my own stupidity and naivety back then. I wiped away the tears, the sadness in my eyes replaced by bone-deep hatred. Charles, Vivian. Blood debts must be paid in blood. I spent 2 full days organizing all the evidence into volumes. One on all of Charles's criminal records. Another on the full truth of how he framed my father and seized the company and technology. I sent both sets of materials to Jenna. After receiving, she only replied 2 words, "Wait for me." I knew the horn of revenge had sounded. On Charles's side, unable to catch my handle and obstructed by Jenna everywhere, the $3 billion insurance was delayed. He was already overwhelmed. Vivian was like a startled bird, paranoid all day, fearing this female ghost of mine would appear again. Their quarrels increased, the former love gone. And I, using this time, met another person. Leo. In a safe location, I met him, and Derek and Max. "This is your share." I pushed an anonymous Swiss bank note to him. It was 50 million. The money I transferred to him initially. Leo looked at the note without taking it immediately, but looked at me. "Is it done?" "Not yet." I shook my head, "But soon." "Then why give me the money now? Aren't you afraid I'll take it and run?" I smiled. "First, I trust your character. Second, you can't run. Since Jenna can find you, she can find you anytime." Leo was silent. "Next, I need you to help me with one last thing." I said. "What?" "Help me lure Vivian out." Leo frowned. "What do you want to do?" "Acting now is too risky." "Don't worry, I won't do it myself." I looked at him, eyes cold. "I just want to give her a big gift." 3 days later was the Jiang Group's 30th anniversary celebration. To salvage his recent negative image, Charles made this celebration exceptionally grand, inviting all elites and media in Jiangzhou. The venue was Jiangzhou's top Grand Hyatt Hotel. On the celebration night, Charles wore a custom suit, radiant, as if the recent gloom had been swept away. He stood on stage, spiritedly recounting the Jiang Group's glorious history and bright future. Thunderous applause below. Just as the atmosphere peaked, all big screens in the banquet hall suddenly went black. Then, a photo appeared on the screens. It was from 10 years ago, at my father's company product launch, his spirited smiling face. Charles's smile froze instantly. Before he could react, the screens began switching. Equity transfer agreement, bank statements, encrypted emails, blurry videos. Segment by segment, scene by scene, exposing the dirty conspiracy from 10 years ago nakedly to everyone. The banquet hall fell silent instantly. Everyone was stunned by this sudden bombshell. "What's this? Sutek? Wasn't that bankrupt over a decade ago? So Charles's first pot of gold came like this? Too dark." Discussions arose. Charles's face was as pale as paper. He roared at the backstage, "Turn it off. Turn it off now. But no matter how the technicians operated, they couldn't control the screens. Because the playback source came from Max, this top hacker. And this was just the appetizer. The screen switched again, showing me and Charles confronting at the police station entrance. Then, the call recording with kidnapper Leo. Hurry up and kill her. I bought her $3 billion accident insurance. The beneficiary is me. Charles's impatient voice, through the venue's top audio, clearly spread to every corner. The whole audience was in uproar. If the earlier business scandals just shocked everyone, then this wife-killing insurance fraud completely ignited everyone's anger. Scum. Beast. Killing his own wife. Call the police. Call the police. Flashes crazily snapped at Charles on stage, recording his current disheveled appearance. He wanted to escape but was surrounded by angry guests. At that moment, the banquet hall doors were pushed open. I, in a red gown, slowly entered accompanied by Jenna and several police. All eyes converged on me. Step by step, I walked through the crowd to Charles, who was already limp on the ground. I looked down at him like a lowly ant. Charles, I'm back. I said, blood debts must be paid in blood. Charles looked at me, pupils dilated in fear, lips trembling, but unable to say a word. He knew he was done. Completely done. No. Not me, he still struggled lastly, gaze turning to a corner in the crowd. It's her. It's Vivian. She instructed me to do this. Like a mad dog, he pushed all blame onto Vivian. However, where his gaze landed was empty. Vivian hadn't come to the celebration at all. Looking for her? I chuckled lightly, took out my phone, and pressed play. New footage immediately appeared on the big screens. In the footage was Vivian. She was tied to a chair, background seeming an abandoned warehouse. And standing before her was Leo. Miss Vivian, long time no see. Leo's voice carried some mockery. Leo? What do you want? Charles won't let you go. Vivian screamed sternly but inwardly afraid. Charles? Leo laughed, he can hardly protect himself now. But he did ask me to bring you a gift. Saying that, Leo placed a tablet in front of Vivian. The tablet played the live stream of the banquet hall. When seeing Charles push all blame onto her, Vivian's face turned pale instantly. No. Impossible. How could Charles, she murmured, eyes full of despair and disbelief. Now, it's your turn. Leo's voice rose again, say everything you know about Charles. Say it well, and perhaps there's a way out. In despair, Vivian, to save herself, completely broke down. Crying and shouting, she spilled how she and Charles conspired to frame my father, plan the kidnapping, forge evidence, everything in detail. She even revealed more of Charles's unknown secrets. For example, to get a project, he sent a business rival's daughter to a client's bed. For example, to suppress a competitor, he maliciously spread rumors, leading to the opponent's boss committing suicide and depression. Case after case, too numerous to record. In the banquet hall, everyone was shocked by this pair's viciousness and shamelessness. Charles slumped on the ground, face ashen. He knew this video of Vivian was the last straw that broke him. Police came forward and cuffed him with cold handcuffs. At the moment of being taken away, he stared at me deadly, eyes full of malice and unwillingness. I just calmly stared back, no ripples in my heart. Everything was over. Charles and Vivian, suspected of multiple serious crimes, were arrested according to law. Awaiting them was the law's harshest punishment. The Jiang Group, due to the leader's imprisonment and scandals, saw stock prices hit limit down overnight, on the verge of bankruptcy. Jenna's company, getting advance notice, successfully shorted and made a fortune. Jenna herself, for saving $3 billion in losses and assisting police in cracking the big case, rose 2 levels, becoming the company's youngest deputy director. And I, as the victim's family and a meritorious person in exposing the crimes, not only cleared all suspicions but also legally reclaimed the part of Jiang Group shares that belonged to my father. Although the company was insolvent, a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. After liquidation, I still got a considerable asset. As for Leo, due to major meritorious service and voluntary surrender, he was ultimately sentenced to only 3 years. Derek and Max also got corresponding sentence reductions. I visited him in prison once. Through the thick glass, he looked much calmer than before. That money, I didn't touch. He said, I had Max make some investments for you, it should have doubled by now. Thanks. I said. The one who should say thanks is me. Leo looked at me, eyes sincere, it's you who showed me another way to live. We smiled at each other, everything was understood without words. I used that money to establish a foundation, specifically to help small and medium entrepreneurs like my father, persecuted by capital and driven to desperation. I left Jiangzhou, this city that left me scarred, and went to a seaside town where no one knew me. I bought a house with a yard, planting flowers, raising a dog, watching the sea every day. Life was plain, but very peaceful.